Welcome, welcome. Jamie Hernandez here, founder of Breakthrough Yoga Coaching Method, helping you bridge the gap between your spiritual practice and your business so that you can grow emotionally and financially. So let me know in the comments if this sounds familiar. When I, in my business, fill in the blank, then I'll make more money. When I am more expert, when I heal that blockage, or when I clear my chakras, when I, make more money or have more students, then, I'll be happy in my business. So let me know in the comments if any of those, when this, then that, is sort of like a recurring story in your mind. Okay, so let me know if, and maybe for you it's like, oh, I never really realized it, because it's sort of something that we tend to unconsciously do as when we're building our goals, right? It's like, okay, I'll do this to get to that. So let me know if you have those stories in your mind, because today's training is called the willingness to receive. And I think it is really the kind of the key missing ingredient to when we're trying to manifest the business and the life that we, that we feel, yeah, okay, this is it. This is it. Yeah. So let's look into that a little bit, because I know by concept it's like, okay, yeah, I get that, but how do we actually practice the willingness to receive? And we all know we can have a trillion million retreats and certifications and books, but if we don't actually practice meditation today or dance today or whatever it is you do today or now, you don't really receive, right? You don't really receive the benefits of that practice. Yeah. So here's the thing. Okay, and I want to kind of give you a story of one of my friends, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's not related to business, but it's related to relationships. And with this friend, she was telling me how, oh my God, I really met this beautiful being, this human, and we went on this 6-hour car ride, and it felt like 15 minutes, and so basically in those moments they were in rapture. Time stood still, and they sort of were in rapture of each other. And of course, that's a beautiful experience. And then she took the courage to say, okay, well, why don't we date, And his response was, well, I'm not really ready for a relationship. And of course, like any human being, we feel rejected, we feel deflated, we feel, and so her heart was crushed. Okay. And again, all normal, everyone does this. Now here is the difference. I talk about a lot about like our deeper prayers, which are these things that often are universal, the things that all humans crave to get back to what they know they are. They know they're loved. They know they're connected to all things. They know that I am you and you are me. At least from an intuition level, yeah. And so we often pray for that, and we pray for it, and it may look a certain way. So we may be praying for, really good friends, or the soulmate of our life, or the soul clients that we wish to have in our life. And that all leads to those universal, deeper prayers of connection, of love, of oneness. And so here's where it gets a little bit confusing. We sometimes see the picture of how that's going to look, and when it starts to unfold and we start to get really excited, that picture, if it doesn't develop, or that movie that doesn't develop exactly how we imagined it, then we get disappointed and we think that our deeper prayer actually hasn't been answered. And in this particular example, if you think about it, her prayer was answered. Deep connection, like somebody that she can totally vibe with, just being able to see somebody and they see you. Like her prayer was answered. But then when the expectation came in of how that prayer is going to unfold, like, okay, so now we're going to, live happily ever after, and we're going to have a long-term relationship, and you're going to want to be with me 24/7, and we're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend and all that. When that kind of crumbled, then we think we didn't actually get what we wanted. We didn't receive the prayer we wanted because we're looking for the answers of the prayers in the outcome and in the expectation. So number one is to really discern between what you want and what you expect. And that deeper prayer, sometimes it's so deep that we're almost like resonating and vibing in it and psychically asking for it through even just a feeling that we don't even put it to words. And so life is going to give it to us in a resonance. And so the sort of the outcome is not going to be so detailed and clear, but we're going to receive that. So what we want and what we expect are two different things. And I think many of us in business, we get it confused, right? Where it's like, okay, I want a successful business, and and then sometimes their expectation of the speed of that business. So expectation can happen in details like who's involved, how much, the timeline, all those details, where, when, all of those details. And sometimes, like for example, as a spiritual entrepreneur, we do the work, we do the trainings, we do the healings, we take the online classes, and then we do the thing, and then it doesn't work, and we think, oh my God, the thing that I've been hoping and praying for, I'm not getting it. And so when we discern, point number one is discerning between what you want and what you expect. And so how we receive in areas where it's like, okay, if what I want is to feel transmission, to feel connection, to feel love in what I'm doing, and as that unfolds, what's going to happen is that's going to seep in. So let me give you another example. I have a client, and she's starting to kind of develop her program. And this is one thing that I help you guys do. I help you develop a program based on your personal experience, your life experience, and your training experience. Because most likely you're drawn to, if you're listening to your intuition, you're drawn to that combination of things that kind of is moving you closer to your purpose. Okay? The people you work with, the experiences you have in life, and the trainings that you're just drawn to doing, all are kind of this beautiful triangle, this package, I call it a triangle of three, that kind of give you hints of what is it you're supposed to be doing on this planet. So we create a program, and something based on your intuition, something that you've always known, you've always seen yourself do in this world. Okay, based on that triangle of three. And so very often when we start developing these programs, what happens is that people in our life start to move towards you because you're starting to resonate something that they're searching for. Okay, so if you are empathetic, if you're empathic, you work not just intellectually, you don't work just with your body, but you also work energetically. And as a sensitive being, you can feel everything. And thus also, that means that you can also transmit everything. You're a receiver and you're a transmitter. And so your transmission, if you've ever, worked with a beloved teacher, or you've been with a baby, or you've been in this most beautiful garden, or you've been with like a beautiful dog, there is a transmission of energy. No words need to be happening because there's a transmission of some sort of pure channeling. Okay? And so when we start to get really crystal clear from that place of clarity and truth of what we want to offer, very often, and you'll notice this, very often you'll have people come up to you. So as you're transmitting, as you're giving your stuff, people are going to come up to you and ask. Like when I started shifting into talking about business, I actually wasn't even that obvious about it. And then a client, all of a sudden, my very first client is like, I really like the way you do business. And there's clients, here's where I wasn't receiving. Clients in the past were also telling me that, but I was expecting something else. I was expecting, giving my spiritual practice and not necessarily teaching about business. But I've always had people ask me, do you see? So now I was kind of in this receiving mode of kind of like, okay, I want to also teach the connection between your spiritual practice and your business, and how to connect the two, and how to create cash flow, and how to offer something that's aligned with your soul. So lo and behold, somebody just comes into my field and asks me like, oh yeah, I really like the way you do business. And here's where in the past I didn't necessarily receive the message, because maybe I wasn't so ready, or maybe I wasn't so crystal clear on what I wanted. But I knew, and I was working on exactly what it is I want to offer. I want to offer people, which I just said. And here it is. Somebody just reaches out to me. So one of my clients, somebody reached out to her, and they're like, oh yeah, I really like what you're doing. I see what you're doing online. There's something about that. And another thing I teach our clients is to take your expertise, because you have decades and decades and decades and decades of experience, right? Life experience, training experience, client experience. Okay, if you're like my clients, that's what's happening. And so somebody approached her. It's like, oh yeah, I really like what you're doing. And so I teach people to also charge a premium. So at least a 4-figure investment for what you do, right? So that's in the thousands. And that number, as simple as it sounds and ridiculous as it sounds, is a choice. Whether you want to charge 1,000 to 10,000, it's a choice. But that choice has to kind of, our nervous system has to kind of integrate and accept and really step into the life-altering transformation that we offer, and understand what would happen if we do not offer this to the world, and what would happen if we do. Okay, because if we don't, nothing happens. That person who maybe was traumatized and had PTSD in the military, nothing happens. Somebody who suffers from ADHD, like that diagnosis, and they can't kind of function in the world, nothing happens. Somebody who has, deep trauma and wounds from their childhood, and you don't offer that life-altering transformation, nothing happens. And then what actually happens when you do offer it? That those people, that person's life changes forever. So there is a real shift for people that you work with. And when we can really step into that, we understand the investment and the commitment. But it takes, that's what I always call like practicing in your spiritual house and practicing in your business house. We have to kind of get clear in the spiritual house and do the spiritual work, and then apply that and implement that in the business. And so I knew that, okay, oh my God, like we do a practice practice where it's like, what for you, if you were, what's the investment? What is it that you feel like this program is worth the investment? What is it for you that's true in your heart? And she was like, okay, $3,000. Okay, great. And so can you really own that? And I started to waver, and I said, okay, what would be like, then what would be like a steal? What would be like amazing, where you even like, oh my God, whoa, that's a little too, underpriced. And she was like, well, 1,000. I'm like, okay, so go charge that. And so here's the funny thing, right? So here's where sort of her intellectual egoic mind was like, well, no, but it's much worth much more. And I'm like, yeah, but do you really embody that now, right? So if you're really just allowing yourself to explore and practice, asking for people at 4-figure, and if there was really like a conviction, like it didn't matter the number, like let's say whatever it was, it's really 10K, but I wanted to charge 5K, whatever the number is, it doesn't matter. But we have to be honest in our own nervous system, like what we really truly like believe, right? And then of course, whenever we get closer to what we want, here's what happens. Oh, no. The ego is like, no, wait. And oh, no. Why do I want to charge much more? And so there was somebody interested in her program, but it was that expectation. It was that when this, then that. Oh, okay. When I finally believe in it, or when they actually pay me, or like it was, and it's like the unwillingness to receive. You are asking for clients to work with to offer your gift, your life-altering transformation for a 4-figure investment, and that takes practice and time to work with those numbers that most people in the healing industry are not used to. And even that word, people are like, oh, why do you use the word industry? And it's like, oh, I don't know what else to call it. Like it is an industry, or it is a field. It is what some of people on this earth are doing. And if we can't do it practically, then what happens is we end up quitting. So with this particular client, there was this unwillingness to receive what they've been praying for. And then there was the lack of discernment between what you're praying for and what you want, right? What you're praying for, what you want, and what you expect. Oh, I expect it to be like this and this exact number. And it's like, receiving sometimes takes us, I would say all the time, seeps in. And if we can't let the little moments of like, ooh, okay, it's not exactly what you expected, but you have the opportunity to offer this somebody who's interested in, because that's the other thing I get really clear with you guys is, who are your soulmate clients? Who do you actually work with? And so when they show up, it takes discernment and practice and observation to actually, receive it. Yeah. And receive, okay, so maybe I can receive that my embodiment is not necessarily fully ready. I'll practice first, and then the next one I could charge $1,500, and then the next one $2,000, and the next one $3,000 as I am receiving. So another concept is more equals more. But if you right away shut off what is being presented, maybe not exactly in the way you want, then again, it's like our willingness to receive is not there, because what happens is we get so used to working hard and doing the healing and being in and understanding where our deep core wounds came from, which I'm not saying is wrong, but if we're so used to, like, imagine you're digging a hole and it has to be kind of 5 feet deep, and you're digging the hole and you're digging the hole and you finally get to 5 feet, but you're so used to digging, you're like, no, it's not 5 feet, I think I have to dig more, no, actually no, and then it's 6 feet, and then it's like you keep on digging the hole, not recognizing, you got the 5 feet. So now you don't have to, the thing that you were working yourself, the healing that you've practiced for so long, the clients that you've been working with are now here. Okay. And are you really willing to look and say, oh yeah, right, I did do the work, right? And I am receiving the benefit. Oh, right, here it is. Here I am. Yeah. Here's what I've created. And so it's nuanced, because the receiving comes in seeps, and we just think it's so black and white, where it's like, well, it's almost like your 14-year-old comes online. It's like, well, if I do it, and especially in business, it's like business takes time. It's like building a house, right? Some things happen really quickly, where it's like, whoa, oh my God, they dig the hole, and whoa, oh my God, they did the foundation. That was really quick. And then, wow, it's taking really long to build the frame and get those wires in and figure out where the wires go. Oh, right? Like building a business from a realistic and mature level, it takes time. And so we have to kind of recognize that, when you build a house, and I'm using a lot of analogies, hopefully it works, but every brick we put on the house, we have to be willing to receive, ooh, my house is being built. And I call it the business house. Ooh, oh my God, ooh, the roof is there, ooh, the windows are coming, ooh, right? And it's never if you live in a home, or you live in wherever you live, it's never really done. You're always kind of creating it to be what you want, right? But while you're there, you can't just okay, so I'm here and I have the house, and but it's not what I want. It's not the end result, the final thing. It's like you kind of have to, oh, right, okay, look at the wall being built. All right, so what you are praying for, it seeps in. And so when we are able to receive it, what happens is more equals more. So if we are able to receive it and able to take it in and work with it in the 3D realm, where it's not just in our mind, we're actually okay, a client. So now there's the willingness to receive, is also understanding, and I talk about this a lot, in your deeper prayers, there's also ramifications. So if you want a business that's successful, you want a business where you have your so many clients, you want a business where, you market in a way that speaks to your clients, you're making whatever money you want to make, you're working with a team, there are ramifications to that. It doesn't mean that the work you do here is not going to be work over here when you finally, remember, when this, then that. When I finally have the business and I finally make the money and I finally get the clients, no, you're still going to have to work, but it's going to be a work that you enjoy. So the ramifications is understanding business is something that we work on consistently. So you can't just do one thing or do one video or, make one outline and be like, okay, it didn't work, or be in the emotion of I'm trying so hard. Yes. The ramification of building your business is we might even want to change the frequency of the heart, but you're somebody who strives for excellence. You're somebody who really wants to give your clients really what they need. So you're going to sit down, you're going to study, you're going to be in meditation, you're going to write the outline, you're going to ponder and contemplate. You're going to actually speak to your clients and your potential clients. You're actually going to invite them into a program. You're actually going to tell them how much it costs. There are ramifications. And so when we kind of understand, oh, right, my deeper prayers are answered, but there's also ramifications, because here's what the expectation will do. Oh, but now I have to deal with my rejection and my shame around money. Oh, now I actually have to ask them and tell them that I actually do this thing, and I actually have to tell them the price. Yes. Think about anyone. And like you go to a store, you go to a coffee shop, you go to a you look at the shirt and you're like, oh, how much does this cost? Right? You look at a couch, how much does this cost? And either the price tag will tell you or the person will tell you, right? Oh, you know, you do mediumship and energy work. Oh, what's the investment, right? And I teach you how to market, because before we make investments, right? Like usually when you buy something, you research it, right? In the world of healing, in the world of coaching, in the world of transformation, people have to know who you are. First of all, they have to have a relationship with you, because if you're going to offer a life-altering transformation, there has to be some sort of relationship, right? You can't just I'm not just going to open a book, well, unless I really are really guided by my intuition. And then, yes, okay, I'm going to go with the first massage therapist I see. Sometimes you do that and it works. And sometimes you research, and sometimes you, right? And so you get to know that person either by word of mouth or by your own intuition, or by physically getting to know them. They have to see, like, okay, what is you do? The process you do is like, is that actually, they have to trust the process. And lastly, they have to trust themselves. So when I'm teaching you guys marketing, I'm teaching you how to share your real life experience. You're not making something up. You're not trying to position yourself, as more special than you are. You're just sharing experiences. And through that experience, because you have a lot, people are like, oh yeah, she gets it. Oh, okay. She speaks my language, Not everyone needs that empathetic, sensitive, dealing with the nervous system way of doing business. Not everyone needs that. Like my husband, he doesn't do business like that. He just doesn't. He just kind of gets to the chase, right? But empathetic, sensitive, healers, because we feel everything, we do need that entry point, because that is our asset. Yeah. And then we can utilize that asset. And here's where we kind of, the bridge gets broken, where we don't realize now, once you've transmuted that energy, now put it into where you're going by understanding what you want. Not only what you expect, but what you want, right? And then having that be your North Star. So the third point is ramification. Like you have to understand the ramification of your deeper prayers, and the willingness to receive not just what is seeping in, but also the ramification. Like, yeah, it takes consistency. Like you wouldn't go to a coffee shop that opens one day and then closes one day, opens one day at 7:00 and then closes another day, opens another day at 8:00 and then closes one day, right? Unless people are really crystal clear, like everyone knows exactly your schedule. But for the most part, people were like, I actually don't know. Is this person in business or not? So in your business, it's the same thing, right? And if people are going to invest that premium rate, it's just like anything. If I said, I'm going to pay you whatever, 10K, and you just do 2-3 things on your task list and expect the 10K to come, right? Then I might be like, maybe the 10K retainer that I offered you is not, we have to kind of work at it. So we have to be willing to work in the reality that we're wanting in the spiritual and business house now. Like we can't just, and here's the fourth point, it's not seeing is believing, because that's where we all go wrong, where we're like, well, until I see the client, until I see the $2,000 in my bank account, then I'll believe that I'm actually worth it. But it's actually believing is seeing. So you need to do the work spiritually, strategically in the business to receive the results. It's just how it works. So let me just look at what else I wanted to say about this, just in case oh, here's another point I want to make. Deep prayer, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, the power of innocence, and I also talked about the power of prayer. So you can go back to those videos. It was before entering the body temple, which was a guided yoga practice. So you can practice with me there, actual physical guided practice, and then listen to the power of prayer and the power of innocence, because the power of innocence protects the deeper prayer. And when we can really listen to that very deep calling, that one that just kind of, it's so subtle, like the heart is very subtle and faint, but just clear. It's just like, oh. And when we can really listen and trust that, and actually stay in that direction, take action with what the heart is telling you, even though it's unreasonable for the outside world, it is protected by innocence. So I'll give you an example, and I think I talked about this already, but I work with one of my beloved teachers who constantly reveal layer after layer after layer in my subconscious, and that's why I love working with her, because no other teacher does that with me, where it's like, oh wow, I didn't know this about myself. Oh my God, I didn't realize I had that in my subconscious. Oh my God, I didn't realize that happened, right? So I told myself, okay, and so she lives in El Salvador, and that's where I trained with her once there, and I've been training with her for the last 10 years. And I told myself, okay, if the next training comes up, you're gonna go. That's it. That's all that happened in my heart and my mind. It's like a little whisper. And of course, and the other thing I said was, ooh, and also if it happens to be around my birthday, cool, right? So that's all that happened. Innocent prayer that came from that very clear channel. Nobody was telling me. I didn't ask anyone's counsel. It just kind of like, I just knew, like, that's what I want. That's what I want. Okay. And then it came. And it's like, ooh, okay. And it was like 5 years later. I'm like, ooh, okay, now it's the time. And here's where I could have, not listened to the innocence of that. I could have, then my intellectual mind. And then if I ask like 10 million people what I should do, then I would get all confused, right? So it's practicing listening to that. And of course, as soon as I listen to that very pure channel, which we all have, and if we practice, we will hear it. And if we act on it, we will start to see. And of course, when I made that decision, even though maybe, some people like, or maybe my family, like, oh, do you really have to go? I could have listened to that external, right? But I didn't. And of course, it was one of the most potent and powerful experiences of my life. And so when we can allow the power of innocence and receive the innocent prayer and trust to just go with that, you will see life tenfold giving you more than you can even possibly imagine. More bliss, more depth, more transformation, or whatever it is you're looking for than you can imagine. But that's because we are practicing, and this is what I teach all our clients, like how to listen to that without it. And trust me, there's going to be other parts of you, there's going to be other people, there's going to be all kinds of things that start to pile up on that little small tiny voice in your heart. And then all of a sudden it becomes diluted with expectations, with other voices, and we forget what we actually wanted to begin with. And so learning how to get back to that innocence and just trusting just trusting. And I know that's the challenge, right? It's like, oh, I hear this thing and I know I want to do it, but can I trust? And then you start going down the kind of intellectual problem solving reality, and then all of a sudden you're 10 million miles away from the very thing you wanted. And then you get into like, okay, first let me do this then to get to that. Let me do this and to get, like, I could have been like, okay, let me wait a couple more years when it's like the perfect timing, or when my kids are older, or when, whatever. All of these excuses. It would have been one of those, when this, then that. Okay? So that's the last point I wanted to make, to just tie in this kind of power of prayer again, and the power of innocence, because we start to get caught, and there's many layers that start to build upon on top of what the heart's desire, right? And that's kind of what we're here to do, is fulfill your heart's desire and then share that with the world. Basically what's happening. Basically that's our school, our here in this school, or Earth School. And so, of course, that's part of our program, where it's like, how can we work with all of those many parts and all those many layers that kind of like put a big protective shield around the heart's desire, and how we kind of come back to that frequency of innocence, and just allowing ourselves, like, when we were younger. Here, I want to give you an example of my daughter. When she really loved chess. When she was like 5, she really loved chess, and there was like all of these like different choices for activities in school, like what you can take, and she's like, ooh, she saw chess, and without even questioning, she's like, yeah, I want that, and she chose it, and then she went to the chess, and then she realized, oh my God, it's all boys, and all the boys never really give her a turn, and then like. So the expectation was not necessarily met, and then maybe she didn't have an expectation. Maybe she just thought it was going to be fun, but for part of her didn't like the exclusion. So in a way, she was just too young to discern between what she really wanted, because it's not like she doesn't like chess, but she got a little bit. She got influenced by the external outcome, and so her love of chess kind of faded away, that heart, that part of her, that desire, because the external kind of clouded her what she wanted, because she was confusing it with what she expected. And when you're a child, that's what happens. Okay. So I wanted to just kind of give that as a last example. And so let me recap, okay? One, we talked about the idea between when this, then that. Okay, when I finally heal, when I finally make the money, when I become an expert, when I finish this coaching program, and then all of a sudden you do another coaching program, and then another coaching program, and then 5 years later you're like, you have all of these certifications, and you're still not using them. When I'm an expert, then I'll be worthy to get paid. And in our work together, if you were to work with me, we look at the deeper, subconscious, what is actually holding us back. So there's that. Understanding that the things that we're praying for, the deeper prayers that we're praying for, are always seeping in. So it's kind of like our willingness to receive them and open our eyes to, like, when are they seeping in? Even in a version that's not exactly what you expect, but it's still what you want. So versus kind of just shutting it down, it's like, can I receive what's coming to me? Because the rule is more equals more, right? If you smile today, more likely you're going to get more smiles than if you were frowning. It's just more equals more, right? If you are joyful, more likely and you practice that joy, or you're more centered, you're in presence, more likely you're going to resonate in that field and attract other people in that field. And then when somebody's not in that field, it's very obvious, it's very polarizing. Okay? So it helps you discern, like, oh, that's what I want and that's what I don't want. Okay? My notes keep on going away. And then I talked about ramifications, right? Understanding if you have this deeper prayer, there are going to be ramifications. I talked about innocence, and in some ways, innocence, if we hold it and we continue not to let anything touch it, it also creates a certain frequency and speed. So if, for example, you innocently ask for something without the external or your own voices or somebody else's voices, that innocence and that frequency actually creates more speed for things to resonate towards you. Just like when I first started my business, this version of my business, the innocence of not having anything kind of like other than, oh yeah, okay, my next client is going to be this high paying, high ticket client. Oh, okay, cool. The speed in which it came faster, because that's the power of innocence. It protects the magnetism and the clarity and what you want, and it's going to draw towards you. And if you stay in that innocence and you continue to see clearly what your heart's desire without all of the extra layers, it's going to come to you. Okay, so that's kind of what I want to mention about innocence. So we had this and that, ramifications, the speed of innocence, and I know I talked about the discernment, and we talked about this, the discernment between what you want and what you expect. I think I had another point, but anyway, we'll keep it at that. And if my memory comes to me, that's fine. What you want versus what you expect. Right? So, point number one, if you were to work with me, we'd look at what is blocking you. So if you're to get on a breakthrough discovery call with me, we'd look at that. We'd look at what where in your body and your mind and your energy has it been coded in that I now must protect, right? So with my daughter, maybe like she's like, oh, I'm never gonna go to chess again because there's boys, and I don't vibe with them, and she's very young, right? Right? So something has been coded into her body, into her mind. There's an idea, and into her energy, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I really like chess, when she really does, right? So we look at that, and that's kind of going to be the domino effect, so that when we go for, and then step number 2 is like clarity, like what do you want? Not what you expect, but what do you want? And then are you willing to now transmute and put that energy, do the work that is required to get to where you want to go? The consistency in your own frequency and in the ability to implement, because that's where us empathetic, sensitive people, we go up and then we go down, and we up and down, and we have to sort of learn how to manage that energy so that we can continue to, like, brick by brick by brick, build our business. So if that resonates with you, you can let me know, Jamie, I'm ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call. And again, I'm going to send you an application, and I'm going to read, like, what is it in the subconscious that is, you think, like, oftentimes, I just need more money, or I just need more clients, or I just need more social media presence. When most often it's a lack of clarity. Most often it's a lack of understanding, you know, how much time you have to spend in the spiritual house and how much time to spend on your business. Because sometimes we spend so much time in the spiritual house and then we put one brick and then we spend so much time and then we forget, like, you have to also put a brick, like, you know, whatever. However, whatever essence or whatever momentum works for you to build your business. And we also look at that together. It's like, okay, I got to do it like one brick a day. You know, that's where my sensitive nervous system can handle. Yeah. So then I send you an application, and then if I feel that it works out, if it's a match, if I can really see that you are ready, and that's there is that willingness, right, to do that work, that willingness to receive guidance, then we get on a call and we look at that. We look at where it is that in your body, in your mind, and in your energy system is been coded in. And then once we free that up, then we can start to get to work. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to go back into the spiritual house. We still are, but we're still going to now slowly, brick by brick, build the business. Because that, in some ways, empathetic, sensitive healers, transformational coaches, we kind of need that. And we get really overwhelmed when there's too many steps. So as your coach, I'll give you just the next obvious action in the spiritual house and in your business house. And then that way, brick by brick by brick by brick, there's no getting your dharma or your life's purpose wrong. Like, there's no such thing. There's only, okay, I'm not willing to kind of follow my dharma. That's the only thing that really happens. And you know, we have our whole lifetimes upon lifetimes upon lifetimes to to work at it. But if you want in this lifetime to bring what you want and what you love down in the 3D, and you have the soulmate clients, you have the cash flow and the abundance, you have the schedule that you want, you have clarity in who you work with and what the program you offer, then DM me and let me know, Jamie, I'm ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call. And I'll be there, and I'll be ready to receive you. So in the comments later on, Katie's going to put the Calendly link, and then that's it. Or you can just directly DM me. All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much for your presence. If you have any questions, let me know. Let me know your biggest takeaways and your ahas. If you're here for the replay, #replay. If you're here live, #live. And I want to hear what your answers to the questions I ask in this and your biggest takeaway. All right? So you can DM me, and you can also see my Calendly link in the comments below. Bye, everyone. I'll see you next week, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye.